special needs children. And so right now I would like to say hello, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me tonight. It is definitely great to be here. It's been a while.
It's been a while. This is about her, maybe your third time.
Yeah.
I think this is her third time, and
Definitely.
this is the first time in this capacity. So I'd like to welcome you, and we're talking about Child Month or special needs children. The theme: encourage, enable, include me, and that's the voice of our special needs children. And Jamaica has been featuring Child Month for many years, and ever since I started the show in 2008. I have been doing the same thing, and I've been really trying to tap into people who have had some amount of experience, depending on what the theme is. Would you like to say hello, share a little bit about your background, and we'll start the conversation?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I am Michelle Lindsay. I have been in education now since 1998. So 20 plus years. Started in an elementary school and worked my way up as a paraprofessional. They call them teacher assistants now, or associate teachers in most classrooms. But when I started, we were paras. And I worked my way through education. You know, I came out of the classroom. But I really had a heart. Since 15, I've been working with children.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a heart for kids since a very young age. And working with trouble kids first, working with kids that potentially went to camp and were in foster homes, and they would come back, and all those different type of things. So my heart has always been towards education and young people.
Mm-hmm.
I do have my master's in education. I'm working to finalize my master's in special ed, and I'm actually going to be working on as well, going for my PhD really soon in education. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right. Nice. Let's start talking. Encourage, enable, include me.
Yes.
3 words that have tremendous impact on the lives of children with special needs, their families, and community. How are these words applied to children here in the United States, starting with the word encourage?
So when you're dealing with a special needs child, right? A child in general ed, our society has so many different ways to educate our kids. So you have to find the encouragement where they are. A lot of times as teachers, we have to meet our kids where they are. But especially for that child that is of a special needs, whether it's Down syndrome or autism or even speech, right? We have to be able to encourage them that what they are learning, the way in which they learn, even though it may be a slower process, or it may be a delay in their speech, or it may be that they're just, high on the spectrum. When I mean spectrum, I mean the autism spectrum, or they're a Down syndrome child. They are children first with a disability second. They're not disabled children, because they're still a child that just has a disability. It would be like someone saying, if you don't have a foot, you can't go to school. No, you just have your child without a foot. But when we come to things that have to do with the cognitive understanding, then we want to put labels. But these children just need to be encouraged to learn in the way that is best fitting for them.
I thank you for that clarification. You know why? Because whenever we see children, the first thing somebody makes reference to is their area of challenge, not seeing them first. So I thank you for that.
But one of the things that the system, our educational system, has done to be able to help our students is to change that. So when a child is dealing with an individual educational plan, which most parents that are of special needs or children with disabilities, their child is the child first, and the disability comes after. So even on their educational plan, it does not say their disability first. It says the child first with Down syndrome, or the child first with high level spectrum of autism. So we as an educational system, we have really taken that realm away from the stigma of being special. Every child is special.
Absolutely. This has been a very personal experience for many people. You know, when you're pregnant and you're looking forward to having this baby and things are just going to be fine, and then here is a child who is born, they're either blind or some impairment takes place, and a lot of parents have not really been able to understand, because it's difficult to understand why me. They ask that question. Nevertheless, they do their best to embrace that child. In your experience, have you seen parents in our community here in the United States that have just not been able to give that child the love they need?
So a lot of the in my opinion, and I'm not, the golden book on education, but I have been in education for 20 years. What happens is that we don't know where the resources are. And so you get this diagnosis, right? You take the test and you found out that there's a possibility that your child has Down syndrome. And so then you say, okay, I'm not going to get rid of the child, I'm going to have the child. From that point is where you can educate yourself. What am I to expect? What am I to do? But in our community, unfortunately, and I mean our community, we are less likely, the brown community, we are less likely to seek out the resources, because we're like, oh, my child is going to be this, my child is going to be that. Where there are so many different resources out there for you. You have organizations, you have mommy and me groups, you have, and even in the schools, if your child is delayed and then you find out, for example, nothing severe like Down syndrome or autism, but you find out your child has a speech impediment.
Yes.
Every child has to be educated. It's a part of the IDEA. No child left behind. All that glamorous stuff that we talk about is really where it's at. And only thing, your child has to receive the services. Without the services is neglect. On the part of the school, on the part of the organization. And so as a parent, what you have to do, and I'm from a Christian background, I love the Lord, so you have to pray or seek help, or just understand that there is help out there. There is no way, no how in 2019 that your child should go without being serviced, because the reality of it is that a normal child learns 9 different ways, right? So a child can learn socially, a child can learn auditorily, a child can learn visually. So even when you're dealing with all of those things, if you have a regular child in a regular system, that child needs to still be addressed in the best way possible for them to learn. And even when it comes to autistic children or children with disabilities, the great thing as a parent for you to know is that even if your child has a disability in one area, they may be heightened in another area. Right?
Absolutely.
So we as parents, and I'm a parent of 3 girls, you have to find out their niche.
Yes.
And you address them, because when it comes to autistic children specifically, if they are high on the spectrum, right, they can be high functioning and they can get jobs and all the other kind of stuff, but we have to be able to push the parents in the right direction.
Yes.
So it's all about what you educate yourself on. As a parent, we never give up. As a parent, we never say we can't. And you find the district in New York City that deals with special needs students is District 75. If the child, no matter what, right? If a child is going to a school and you live in the Bronx, but your child's school doesn't, you go to a charter school, your child's school doesn't offer the services, the school has to in-house the service. Or tell you where you can go get the service in the surrounding areas of the school, and allow your child to be able to be picked up, taken to the service, or the services be rendered in the building.
Okay. The voice of Michelle Lindsay. This is Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7. We are broadcasting from Mount Vernon, New York. And we'd like to say hello to you. My name is Denise Lady D. Gomez. This is the show. It's called Inside the Zone with Lady D. Jamaica is celebrating Child Month 2019 under the theme Encourage, Enable, Include Me. And Michelle is bringing a perspective to our community centered around special needs children, include me. We have seen here in our Caribbean diaspora, the Jamaican diaspora, particularly, as I said, Jamaica, and we have a very strong presence here in the tri-state area. Now, informed parents are better able to get the services, as you say, that their children need. But what about the children whose parents can't find that and they decide that they're not going to send them out, they're going to keep them home? Have you had that kind of experience where there's a child who is just here in this country and not receiving any service at all?
In the last few years, not so much. There are parents that, may come from, West Indian culture or come from another country and come here recently, right? But as a parent and as an educator, I have to tell you, that would be neglect. So if your child is staying home and not receiving or even going to school, and someone was to report you, then that would be educational neglect.
Right.
There are so many certain days, even in my school, when there is a child that is absent so many certain days after they're registered in a school, the school has to then inform the government, in a sense, to the governmental agency to let them know this child is not attending school on a regular basis. So when that happens, there still are resources, right?
Available.
There are still available resources that you can get to. You can go to the library. You can find Mommy and Me groups. You can look online. You can go to Down syndrome organizations. You can go to, autism.com and plug in your zip code and find different resources and different programs. For example, if you feel the child is not ready to be socialized or to be in a social setting, even as a baby, you can take the child to classes to get that, the motor skills going and to make sure that they're still acquiring speech. And the best teacher is the parent. Because the child is a special needs student or a child with disabilities doesn't mean that they don't understand you. It doesn't mean that they can't be interactive with you. So the ultimate thing as a parent is to not stop education in your own home. Right? Colors, vibrant colors, blues, the neutral colors that we have, the primary colors that we have. Even when I was raising my children, you go into the store. What is this? This is banana. The children will repeat. So even if the child is of special needs and you choose, which I would strongly not suggest, but if you choose to keep your child home, then I would suggest be the teacher that they need you to be until you're able to get the services that they can be provided for.
Absolutely. We have come to understand that whenever a person sees a child and they have special needs, to that person, and we have to be realistic, to that person, that child's look funny, odd. And we are not sure, many people are not sure how to react, how to respond. How can you walk people through? Because there's certainly a lot of times these children are so open to you talking to them, but because you don't have the experience, the skill, then you are the one who seem to be so intimidated.
So the wonderful thing about children with disabilities, they are their own kingdom.
Could you repeat that?
They are their own kingdom.
Yes.
They know how they want to be approached. They may do it excessively.
Yes.
Right? But a child will tell you if they want hugs. Like some autistic children don't want to be touched. Their sensory motor, the motors and their senses are sharpened, so they don't like the touch. But then you have some Down syndrome children that want to hug you all day long. Right? And so if you come into contact with a child that is special needs, you allow them to introduce themselves. You allow them to approach. You don't stand back, because a child, any child is going to know when you feel weird around them, right? And so as any other child, they still are a child first, right? If anything I can plug away from tonight, they are a child first. They need to be hugged. They need to be loved. They need to be told that they're beautiful. They, And the wonderful thing is, like, my church, we just had a special needs service because one of the people in my church, he wrote a book on autism. And so we had this whole service where we had the headphones so that if they heard the music and it was too loud and all these things, but the children in the service wanted to worship. They wanted to get up. They wanted to clap their hands. Children are children first, right? And so when you're in that surrounding around that type of child, let them lead you. Right? Let them guide you. You say hello as the adult. And the best advocate is the parent. Right? The parent knows what their child wants. Then they know how to approach their child. They know how. So if you're in a family and you're going to someone's house and you know that there's a special needs child there, a child with disabilities, you can have a conversation with the parent. You can say, what's the best way for me to approach to be able to speak to your daughter, speak to your son, right?
Yes.
And move from that perspective, because one of the things that you have to be when it comes to a child with disabilities is flexible.
Yes.
You have to have flexibility, you have to have patience, and you have to be willing to encourage. So as you're doing that, that child will beam and glow, and oh man, it is just
they come alive.
They come alive. Because they're children that just want to be loved, and when you shy away from them, you're making it seem as if they're different.
Yes.
Right? But if they're in a house that is loving, they're just like any other child in that house.
20 minutes after 7 o'clock. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Inside the Zone with Lady D. Denise Gomez. My feature this evening, Child Month. The theme for Child Month in Jamaica this year, Encourage, Enable, Include Me. With me is Michelle Lindsay, and we are learning so much from you this evening. Michelle, she's an educator with experience with children in special needs, and we are talking about the children in our community. While it is being recognized, the theme is being recognized in Jamaica. It applies to children everywhere, and we reside here in the Northeast of the United States, New York. And I thought it's so fitting to talk about children in our school system, in families here. How can our community really ensure that our children feel comfortable, who they are, who they were created to be?
Ultimately, allow the child to be a child. Ultimately, when you're at a park, it's almost similar to racism. Children don't know color until they're proven to show that they're different in color, right? So just as much as a child that has a disability, if they come from a loving family, when they enter into an environment, they don't know that they're not loved until they are approached in a different way, right? So you have to be just as normal as you can be normal around a child that has a disability. And once again, allow them to lead you. Because if they don't want to be touched, they'll shy away.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If they have a hearing and they're sensitive to hearing, some children with autism, they may rock, right?
Yes.
And so it's not to look at them. It's not to be like, what are they doing? We all have differences, right? We learn. I can't sit in a class. When I was in college, I can't sit in a class for 2 hours and you expect me not to do anything. I would be writing, I would be doodling on a paper or something like that. We all have these different isms and schisms, right? But we don't call ourselves special, but depending on what country you live in, you might be like, no, you gotta sit still and all these kind of things. And we realize that children are children. They need to be loved and exercised and be able to go out and enjoy life. And so my encouragement is really to just allow the child to be a child. Yes, they're different. Yes, they may approach different. Yes, their physical features may, but you know what? Thank God. One morning you can wake up and go and get a car accident and your face be disfigured.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you would be a person with a disability.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And not because you have a physical, not because you have a mental or a developmental delay, but physically you have now changed. Right? And we are allowing our children to be children.
Yes. 23 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're winding down in a few minutes. And we're talking about our special needs children this afternoon. Encourage, enable, include me. And I think, Michelle, you're doing such a well-rounded job of really speaking to these three words that are so very important. And I'm sure when they were trying to coin this theme, a lot of thought went into it. 914-600-4228. We're winding down. If you'd like to call and express your gratitude, or if you know of a child who has special needs and they are doing well or there's some challenges that they're experiencing, you may call and say hello to Michelle, and she'll be able to walk you through or refer you somewhere. 914-600-4228. 24 minutes now after 7 o'clock. How did this, in my culture, I was born in Jamaica, born and raised. It wasn't until so many years later that we heard the term special needs. Initially, they called it disability, or they would say, you know, perhaps if you had a speech impediment, you know, they call you dumb. All kinds of deaf and dumb, all kinds of words that were coined just to describe somebody.
Right.
And now we realize that they have really, and you alluded to that because children are born differently, they learn differently. I realize that the school system here, they have managed to figure it out. How do I reach this child?
Right.
What method do I need to use to reach this child? Because you have children who can be in one class and you just cannot reach them because that's not how they learn.
Right.
So as the community words be to our community to be more aware of these children.
I'll say it again and I'll say it again. A child is a child. So when we have a special needs child in our community, we have to be the ones that are flexible, are pliable, to be able to learn how to approach them, right? They're once again, they are the kings of their castle. They know how best to learn for themselves originally, and then we as the adults, we as the educators, we have to be able to reach them in their way. I have a student in my classroom who I have to wear FM for him because he has a speech and he has hearing aids that he's supposed to wear. That would be something that I need to know as an educator, right?
Okay.
I can't let him come into my classroom and be able to sit in silence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So as we are in this world, as we are in our communities, do not ever say that a child can never learn.
Yes.
Because every child can learn. They just learn in different degrees. They learn in different styles. They learn in different methods. I have students in my classroom who need to get up every once in a while.
Yes.
Right? And so as we are in this environment, I just encourage us in this environment, in our communities, to continuously stay open, pliable, and flexible when it comes to children with disabilities. Because the statistics are there. There are so many children that have some form of disability. We just don't know about it.
Absolutely.
And what we do know, we educate ourselves on.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle Lindsay, for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me.
We learned so much, and I'm looking forward to having further sessions with you.
Yes.
Centered around children, education, and, because I realize that we need to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And
especially in our community.
Especially in our community, and there's no reason why we shouldn't.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining me in Child Month this evening.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for Child Month for today, May 16. I'm looking forward to having another discussion with Michelle, and certainly, we will be really pressing this issue about our special needs children. That's the wrap, and I am going to be going into another interview coming up with Bishop Roger Ball, and he has his book, and we're going to be talking about it. So stay with me.